We'll start with the Republican National Committee urging GOP lawmakers to double down on anti-abortion stances and, quote, go on the offense in the 2024 election cycle. Yeah. On Friday, the group passed a resolution calling on Republicans to push for laws that ban abortions once a heartbeat is detected. That would outlaw the procedure at about 6 weeks of pregnancy, before many even realize they're pregnant. The resolution also expressed disappointment in candidates who did not publicize their abortion views during the November election and fight back against what it called Democratic extremism on abortion. We'll note that polling has showed the opposite, that many voters were turned off by the extreme position of Republican candidates on the issue.
So Willie, it's absolutely fascinating, really. We have, again, candidate after candidate after candidate in swing districts, in swing states losing because of abortion. And here you have it. This
is their strategy, to lose more.
It's got to be the contributors that are saying, this is what gave Democrats a historic midterm, given all the trends, and now we want you to double down on this losing strategy.
Yeah, I mean, race by race, this was decisive. The abortion issue was decisive, with some of the more extreme Republican candidates leaning hard into no exceptions for rape or incest, saying that a 14-year-old, having the baby is a perfect example of where abortion, all these lines that came out that cost people elections. And there's another piece of this which is almost equally stunning. A new report from the RNC that proposes creating permanent infrastructure in every state to ramp up election integrity activities in response to perceptions within their own party among their voters of widespread election fraud. There was none. The internal report obtained by the Washington Post reveals the degree to which Republicans continue to trade on former President Donald Trump's false claims that Democrats and their allies rigged his defeat in 2020. NBC News has not viewed or verified a copy of the report, but the Post continues, quote, the report suggests building a massive new party organization involved state-level election integrity officers and intensive new training models for poll workers and observers, all based on unsubstantiated claims that Democrats have implemented election procedures that will allow for rigged votes. The report, quote, acknowledges the GOP's obsession with election fraud has cost the party, but concludes the party must continue to build efforts to restore Republican faith in their elections. It goes on. Instead of combating misinformation about fraud, the report encourages the recruitment of staff and volunteers to monitor elections and the development of more aggressive legal strategies to hold election officials accountable for violating the law.
Willie, come on, Willie. I mean, this election, by Trump's own person, said the 2020 election was the cleanest election ever held.
Yeah, and all the judges who weighed in, many of them Republican, Trump-appointed judges who said there was no election fraud here. They won one case, Trump attorneys, among 60-some. In a statement to the paper, the RNC called the report an early draft document that reflects contributions from only a small number of RNC staff. However, top Republicans remain concerned. Senator John Thune, the number 2 Republican in the Senate, told Politico in part, any candidate in 24 that has as their principal campaign theme a stolen election is probably going to have the same issues that some of the 22 candidates had. I just don't think that's where the American public is. Jonathan Lemire, I read this story in the Washington Post and I thought there's got to be a DNC sleeper agent inside the RNC saying, yes, continue with that strategy. Continue with that strategy, please.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, this is the further legacy of Donald Trump's big lie. And the party is still in its throes. And we saw the vast majority of the prominent election deniers in last November lose. Now, there are some who still have their spot in the House of Representatives. There are certainly numbers of Republican lawmakers who voted against certifying Joe Biden's victory, who maintained their seat in Congress. But this was a losing issue. Poll after poll after poll shows that. And yet they're still doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on it. And as much as we have been talking for months now about how Donald Trump appears weaker than before, we now know there are going to be other Republicans who are going to take him on in 2024. But he is still the dominant figure in the party, and his beliefs are now so ingrained that there have cast widespread doubt among Republican lawmakers and voters as to whether elections can be trusted, even though all evidence points that they can, setting themselves up for further defeat.